Sectionalism is a devotion to the interests of one geographic region over the interests of the country as a whole. The Industrial Revolution originally centered in the textile industry, but as part of this revolution, by the 1830s, the northern factories were producing all types of goods. Cyrus McCormick was the inventor of the mechanical reaper in 1834. Laws that were passed in the South to control the lives of enslaved African Americans and deny them basic rights prohibited slaves from marrying, learning to read and write, and leave their master's property without a pass, was slave codes. The Great Plains was the last retreat for Native Americans. Native Americans lived as nomads or in villages on these lands. White settlers were in the West. This people group worked all day and lived in log cabins or improvised shelters, shortened lifespan for men and women. Overhunting and deforestation, along with poor farming methods, caused environmental damage. Universal male suffrage was no religious or property-owning restrictions on voting. All white males could vote. The practice of giving offices and other favors of government to political supporters and friends, Jackson started the spoil system. Supreme Court case which said that Cherokees were not a foreign nation with the right to sue in a federal court was Cherokee Nation versus Georgia. The nullification crisis when Southerners declared federal protective tariffs null and void. Jackson responded with the force bill and suggested compromising over tariff. The compromise succeeded. Roger Taney was the Secretary of Treasury during Jackson's administration, eventually replaced John Marshall as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Pet banks was the opponent's name for the state banks where Andrew Jackson placed deposits removed from the Federal National Bank. Judicial review is the power of the Supreme Court to declare laws and actions of local, state, or national governments. Impeachment is a formal accusation by the lower house of a legislator against a public official, the first step in removal from office. William Clark is the American explorer who aided Meriwether Lewis in an expedition through the Louisiana Purchase. Judiciary Act of 1801, passed by Federalist Congress, created 16 new federal judgeships and other judicial positions. Mr. Madison's War was the name given to the War of 1812 by pro-British Federalists. Battle of Lake Erie, U.S. victory in the War of 1812, led by Oliver Hazard Perry, broke Britain's control of Lake Erie. Thomas MacDonald challenged the British in 1814 on Lake Champlain and forced the British to retreat in the Battle of Plattsburgh. The Land Act of 1820 authorized a buyer to purchase 18 virgin acres at a minimum of $1.25 per acre in cash. It also brought about cheap transportation and cheap money. The Monroe Doctrine was James Monroe's statement warning European nations not to colonize or interfere with America. Popular sovereignty is the ability for the people of a territory to vote on whether or not to allow slavery. The Missouri Compromise was that Missouri entered the Union as a slave state and Maine entered the Union as a free state, balancing Congress. The fugitive state law required everyone to report runaway slaves so that they could be forcibly returned to their owners in the South. The Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854 granted popular sovereignty to territories of Kansas and Nebraska, which was supposed to be forever free. The Dred Scott decision in 1854 ruled that since he was not a citizen, he had no rights, and he had the same status as livestock and land. Ecological imperialism is historians' term of the spoliation of Western natural resources through excessive hunting, logging, mining, and grazing.